I see physics and mathematics as the fields of knowledge in which the most orders of magnitude are concerned. And we are not evolutionarily, I think, developed to conceive so many orders of magnitude in a way that makes sense to us. Our instinct or neurotransmitters, that is ultimately the thing that makes us feel. Consciousness is made up of interactions between neurons. The way our evolution made us is not designed to make us perceive with our feelings those absurd amount of orders of magnitude. So in your place in the universe, you mentioned, quote, apparently, that unification happened only once, for a brief moment, when the universe was less than 10 to the minus 36 powers, seconds, and smaller than a single electron. The words brief and small in the preceding sentence seem hopelessly inadequate. But here we are, unquote. Is your calibration of how inadequate words small and brief itself calibrated? Are you giving a correct representation of how inadequate it is by saying that it is hopelessly inadequate? Is there any way of doing enough meta-analysis so that we can represent anything astrophysical correctly?
Oh, yeah. And I think what I was pointing out in that passage, and it's one of my favorite things to highlight, and we've already encountered it in this interview, is how sometimes human language can not fully encapsulate and describe the scales of size or distance or energy that we are talking about here. And that this is why mathematics is so powerful, because it allows us to put a number on it. It allows us to model it. Mathematics allows us to develop mathematical theories that we can then use to make predictions, and the predictions agree with experiments and with observations. So we know we're doing something right, even if we don't have the language ability to properly describe the mathematics themselves. Instead, we use mathematics as the language to describe nature, not as a companion to natural language, but as the language. Galileo himself said that the book of nature is written in mathematical characters, and that is something that physicists continue to use to view the universe.
Okay, I get it, but we are condemned to seeing concepts or feeling them in a synthetic, and we are separated from them, absolutely, because our feedback system is not aligned with that. So I think that in the same way that when you get into your car and you press the gas pedal, you don't feel how much energy is being consumed per second. But if you were driving a bike, you would instantly know that you are spending a huge amount of energy. So your internal feedback system tells you, hey, stop this. We are designed to avoid any energy expenditure because that's evolutionarily selected for. But with the car, that doesn't happen because it's an external system that's mechanical and technologically advanced. It's the outcome of technological progress in the same way that mathematics or physics, I think, is. This is my perception. You cannot feel as intensely or with the same kind of feelings how big the universe is as you would, for example, the increase in a few inches of your apartment. When you come from a super small apartment and then you increase it a bit, you feel the increase in space. There's no way of feeling that same amount of space added to the universe each millisecond as a way of, maybe this is too metaphorical. I feel like we are separated from it in a super abstract and synthetic way.
It is true. Like, I understand that sentiment, that it feels abstract, it feels synthetic, it feels artificial. But the entire point of training as a scientist, and especially training as a physicist, is to develop a comfortable intuition with the mathematics, so that when we are grappling with these concepts, they do not feel artificial, they do not feel alien, they feel second nature, they feel like if you've never spoken French before, and then I dropped you into the middle of Paris, France, things would feel very alien and foreign and artificial because you may recognize some of the patterns and the behaviors, but you don't understand what is being communicated to you. But if you start to learn French, and if you live in France and spend more time in France, then over time, things become more natural. They become more familiar. They become intuitive. You get a sense of how French people live and work and communicate with each other, and you become a part of that. And so physics can be alienating. It really can. But it's not alienating to physicists themselves, because this is how we construct our view of the universe.